Hi, everyone. Kaylie Shapiro here on the Right or Wrong podcast, joined by my co-host Nick Zito for Cigar Mile Week. And how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm like I told everybody. I'm glad it's happy birthday again, and more importantly, what an incredible card. Thank the Lord. I mean, that's incredible. For folks that were there last Sunday and had that horrible thing, it'll be nice. If they could get back out there on Saturday, that'd be great because they got a real treat. The Remsen's unbelievable. The Cigar Mile's good, and the Demoiselle is kind of a cool, tricky race, but the Remsen's a special race this year. Special.
The Remsen is jam-packed, and maybe you
Yeah,
could just, before we jump into the races, talk a little
sure.
bit about the importance of the Remsen being the first mile and an eighth prep for 2-year-olds on the Kentucky Derby Trail. What do you think is the significance of this race at this time of the year? And maybe speak to your experience. I think you've won it a couple of times,
Yeah,
right?
well, the history of the Remsen, obviously, the mile and an eighth for a young horse, kind of identifies them and separates them. The separation from horses that want to go long for next year's Kentucky Derby, and we already know about Dornoch and Sierra Leone. How consistent they were, and it's a very unique race. And over the years, look at the horses, that have won the Remsen. It's who's
Mhm.
who in racing. It's who's who. Some of those names. You
Yeah,
know,
Strike the Gold won the Remsen, right?
no,
Or
but
Go for Gin.
Nico Virgin did, yeah, and he won. He wound up winning the Kentucky Derby this year's Remsen. If you look at those, I like those four horses. We'll talk about that in a second. But if you look at those, I mean, you can buy a community if you know what I mean. You can
Yeah,
send like 45,000 kids to school. It's unbelievable.
it
The
is
horses what they
unbelievable.
cost and how they're prepared and how they come up to the race, and
Mhm.
it's incredible.
And it's the last year that we have the Cigar Mile at Aqueduct, so it's a really special day, and
Yeah,
really excited for it. But we're gonna start with the Phillies and the Demoiselle, and
yeah,
I know that you're pretty interested in the number one Philly jumping the gun, so I
yes,
would
and
love if you talked a little bit about that.
yeah, I think she's a Jersey bred, I believe, and also Kayla, I like horses that show consistency. Consistency makes you great in anything in life. It makes you great in anything in life, and this horse runs well all the time, and she reminds me of a filly that would be hanging around. Again, Zany was tremendous in her debut. She ran at Gulfstream Park. That's where a lot of the champions run to.
Hmm.
And think about it. I'm not too sure she could duplicate that race. And the tracks are different in New York this time of year. So she ran on a very, very fast track at Gulfstream, looked tremendous.
Hmm.
And of course, it's a Rapoli horse. So, and of course, Todd, you have to, and of course, Irad. So, you got all the power there. But
Hmm.
I like the one. It's by Gun Runner. It's Jersey bred. I think he'll be hanging around. She'll be hanging around, and maybe she could pull an upset.
Towards the 6 year Believable
Yeah,
for
she's good too.
Rapoli
Another
and
Rapoli
Todd
horse. Yep,
Pletcher. Yeah,
yep,
because this
yeah,
horse is 5-1 on the morning line, and I sort of shared a
yeah,
similar thought process as you with the number 3. I kind of wanted to
yeah.
play against her here, and she also did that in gate to wire fashion at Gulfstream Park as well. So kind of just want to see how she runs here at Aqueduct. But I really like the number 6, and now she also picks up Johnny V for the first time as well. Kendrick was aboard for her 2 races. First start, she broke her maiden over the track at Aqueduct, going a mile, and second start in a listed stakes. She ran second that day, and I think, getting the blinkers on now could make a bit of a difference, and she has pretty good tactical speed drawn to the outside. Interested to see the trip that, she sits, but I was really interested in the number 6 here, but curious to see how the 3 Zany runs
Yeah,
for this track for sure.
again, it's Pletcher, Rapoli, live horses, no question. I'm just taking a shot with the one. I just think the one might hang around.
We have our picks up here. Nick went 1-3-6 and I went 6-3-4 here. And now we're going to go into just about the most exciting race on the card, I believe, with the Remsen. And I know, Nick, you have a ton of thoughts about this. So
Yeah.
definitely want to just jump right into it. I know your top pick here is the number 11, Talkin for Danny Gargan. What are your thoughts on this runner, and why do you think that he's the standout in this field of horses.
Well, obviously, I don't know about standout. I mean, I think he's my pick, and he broke his maiden at Saratoga, very impressive. But then he came back into Champagne, and to me, he was just impressive. It was a mile race, but it was a real good second. The winner won off, and the winner ran really well that day. But he reminds me of a horse that's just going to get better. And he's the type of horse that I don't think, I know everybody knows, well, not everybody, but I know Danny extremely well. And I'm pretty sure that he didn't do anything silly other than train him to perfection. And I think, he'll be right there. Of course, look, what do they say? Don't underestimate your opponent. My God, look at his opponents. The other three I picked, holy God. And they got Chad with that horse. You got Paladin. You got Todd with the other horses. And Todd's got 2 live horses. So Todd's got 2 live horses. Chad's got a live horse. So Danny's really got his work cut out for him. But
definitely.
I really like that horse Talking. I mean, I do too. I honestly, and his buyer, I think, is just a little lower than Chad's and a little lower than Todd's, I believe. And Renegade's, geez, I mean, it's just some race.
And I landed on Renegade here for Todd Pletcher. I mean, 5-1 was just really hard to turn down on this runner. This horse was involved in that DQ with Paladin. He got taken down. Paladin got put up in that race. But I think that there's going to be a decent amount of pace here. At least that's what I saw on paper. Would you agree?
Correct. Yeah, I agree. That's why, even though he's got the 11 post, I think that might even help him because, what's his name owns that track like the back of his hand now. Kendrick, he does know, the track, he knows Aqueduct like it's his own. So he's going to tuck in, he's going to get a good spot, and he should be really dangerous. He should be really live. I really like that horse a lot.
Yeah, and that's similar reasons why I landed on Renegade here. Both of these horses, Renegade and Talkin, can come from off the pace. Right. And that's why I think that they both have an advantage here in this field. And they've shown that they could do that well. And, Renegade is a horse that's going 1 mile and an eighth for the first time, but they all are. He's sired by Into Mischief. And this horse looked physically like he could handle it when I saw him that day in the paddock. So, and certainly his running style, the way that he just continued to run on and catch Paladin that day kind of encouraged me that, he could stretch out further. But what are your thoughts on Paladin, the number 2?
Yeah, Chad Brown horse, Klarovich, win first time out, was put up, but he ran, right there at Renegade. So he looks like he's a horse with, again, a future. They got to, have a future. And if you just look at these horses, my God, the quality. And we're not even talking about, some other horses in there. But these 4 stand out to me.
Yeah.
For a lot of reasons, for pedigree, for, like the famous expression is you don't know what a horse costs, Kaylie. But actually, I think these horses know what they cost. It's a lot of money. So it's a lot of money. They're live horses. Again, you got the right stables, got the right trainers. So it's a really, really good Remsen. Really good.
Really good Remsen, and me and you have the same top 4, just a different order, and we both like the number 6 Courting. Huge pedigree, the full brother to Clairiere, one of my favorite race mares ever. But she took a little while to start running those triple-digit figures as well, and this horse is kind of off to the same. Off on the same beat, ran a 76 on debut. Yeah. You'd imagine this horse has all the room to improve stretching out, but maybe can need a little bit of time. Is that what you're thinking a little too?
Well, yeah. You give $5 million for a horse, you know what? What is the Nike, the Nike commercial always says, just do it. You know what I mean? And it might be like, the future's now. You know what I mean? It could be Saturday.
I have to ask your opinion on Balboa here, the number 10. I was kind of curious, on your thoughts on this horse, just because this was a horse that Bob Baffert had in his barn and now is with Brittany Russell. What did you think about Balboa? I was just curious your thoughts.
Well, obviously, anytime you see a Baffert horse that he had Brittany Russell obviously doesn't take a backseat to anybody. She's another great trainer.
Mm-hmm.
She seems to do extremely well. But I just don't think, you can't pick them all. But I would say I'm sticking with the ones I got. But it is an interesting horse, and Baffert had it, so you never know. Those horses. He seems to whatever. I'm just sticking with the horses I got.
Yeah, definitely. I'd agree. And I also, as a big long shot, I mean, these are my top four. I think we're both pretty rock solid on that. We really like these four horses. But another one I took a really long look at was the number one day starter for Shug here, day one starter. And this horse just put in a bullet work, 2 back for Shug. And I thought that was a little aggressive to see and a little interesting, kind of signals he might have a live horse in here. What did you think of this one?
Shug is dangerous because of Shug, Hall of Fame trainer. And obviously he was waiting for the light bulb to go off, and he might have helped him a little bit with that workout. But his figures obviously were low. I have to now, with the modern times of everything with technology, you know me, right? But at the end of the day, you have to look at the figures. They're very low compared to the other horses. However, you brought out an excellent point. And that's why they have those exactas and triples and, supers and stuff like that, because that's an interesting horse because of the connections of the trainer, how he trains horses, how he got into the Hall of Fame. So he's trying to, in other words, what he's doing with that workout was to get that light bulb to go off in his head. For the people out there that don't understand, they're babies, they're horses. They don't really know how to run yet fully. They have an idea, but they don't know yet. And that's what you're trying to do here. So I'd be interested to see. Pedigree means a lot. And you told me again, give me the whole pedigree on that horse.
It's a upstart out of a distorted humor mare.
Which means what? Pedigree says he can run long.
Yeah.
Pedigree says he can run all day. So he's got the right trainer. So that's a big thing. Tremendous betting race. Tremendous. I wish I didn't have 2 cents in my NYRA card. Maybe somebody could help me today.
I think I can help.
I only got 2 cents in the NYRA bets. Maybe somebody can help me. I'm looking at her. Maybe somebody can help me.
I think I know.
On your birthday. See that? Yeah. I'm supposed to give you a present, but it looks like you're reversed.
And next, we're going to go to the Cigar Mile here. This race is another one that, I'm pretty excited about. Going to take our picks from the last race off, but here's a 7-horse field, and you have a favorite in the number 6, Phileas Fogg, and I know that that's a horse that you're pretty interested in as well, and your second choice, Bishop's Bay. What did you think about this field for the Cigar Mile, and who did you land on here?
I think I landed on Bishop's Bay, didn't I? I think I landed on the 7. And
yes,
6.
You did.
Yeah. And I only have 2 horses in this race. I don't want to go too far. You go all over the place. For me, these are the horses to beat. I think one of them is going to make it. I like Bishop's Bay. I love a race called the Westchester. It's a great, great race. It's a mile. We set the track record with a horse called Najran once. Ran like almost the world's record. He ran like 132 and change. I think he still ties it. He still may have the record. But that's an amazing race, the Westchester. And especially he won that. He won that, and I like him off that race, and Brad Cox, and you got Pratt, great jockey, and I like him. And then the second horse, he's a tremendous horse too, and he runs those miles. If you look at his mile races, they were great. So I like those 2. I can't spot them. I mean, there's some other horses in the race, the Crazy Moon, and of course, if it rains, that Doc Sullivan is tough.
And if it rains, Bishop's Bay is really tough.
Well, he's tough too. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no matter what.
Yeah, he loved the slop. Yeah, you like Doc Sullivan, but did you?
Yeah, I do. I like Doc Sullivan a lot. I just think John Ortiz has done a really good job with this horse, and I think that honestly, the horse has shown a little bit of an improvement since joining his barn. I mean, in his first start with John Ortiz, he won with the 98, and then after that he put him in open company, and this horse hadn't really run in open company all too much. He ran in the Forgo, he ran in the Vosburg, and he hit the board in both of them, and that to me definitely stuck out. And then to see those last 2, in his last start he got a 96. He won by 5.5 lengths that day, and I thought that the horse looked phenomenal, and that was only 2 weeks ago. So I think it's pretty aggressive for John Ortiz to roll Doc Sullivan back off 2 weeks in the Cigar Mile. I think that signals that this horse is locked and ready to go. And I love the fact that he drew the 1 hole as well. I think that he's going to sit a really nice trip. So pretty interested in him at 5-1. I was a little interested in Shug's horse in here as well, that Junior's also picking up the mount on. This horse is another one that just put in a bullet work the same date. They must have worked in company, I'd imagine. Him and the horse running in the Remsen, this number 3 pentathlon, just put in a bullet work.
Well, this is a well-bred horse, as you know.
Owned by Phipps.
But the Phipps stable, you can't beat them. That blood is gold. I've known that since I'm a kid, that black and cherry. I mean, I've known that since I'm a little baby. If you had to dig, that's you've come up with some, I think, live long shots. I think the folks should pay attention. I know you can't bet them all, but you got to stay. You got to take a stand. But that's cool. You did a good job there.
The 3 went a mile last time out at this track at Aqueduct and got a 92. That's a pretty good figure. Can take a step up off of that. Just put in a bullet work mile over the track. It just seems like this is the first time he's also putting him in a graded stakes race. So that's also interesting. Yeah,
and the right foundation, the right connections. That's a big thing. The 6 and 7. They're, to me, they're the horses to beat. They're just good horses. You know what I mean?
Really exciting fields, and wish you were there on Saturday. But
yeah, me too. I would love to be.
Florida soon, right or wrong, on the road down there.
Yeah, we need to do that. But I love being there in those days. Those are really cool days. I had quite a few of them, and I'm grateful to have been there. But it's a treat for the people that like horse racing.
And thank you so much, Nick.
No, thank you, and also, I think it's a year we did the Remsen. That was our first. That was our first one. So
yes.
Pretty cool.
It was. Now we've been going strong for a year.
Yeah, that's it. So right or wrong, have a great birthday.
Thank you.